Hello and welcome to Devil's Discourse. And this time with me I have Leraje.
Hail Satan.
I have Pike.
Hail Satan.
And I'm Lithos. Hail Satan. And before we start, just a quick request for all of you kind enough to listen to our podcast. We really appreciate it. We are grateful for every listener, and we are aware that some of you are listening via Spotify. We would like to remove our podcast from this platform, as the CEO of this organisation, Daniel Ek, has a less than salubrious history of underpaying musicians for their art, and has of late made questionable investments with the money he has made through Spotify. Two glaring examples are the €600,000 investment in Helsing, which is an AI weapons company, and the $150,000 paid to Trump's inauguration bash. We don't want to just pull a podcast from Spotify immediately and stop you listening to us, but we would kindly ask you to find alternative platforms to find us, be it a podcatcher app, YouTube, or just going direct to our source hosting site given in the show notes. We will no longer be available on Spotify from the end of May. Thank you again for your support, but please don't use Spotify, as even the free version uses ad revenue to pay for evil shit perpetrated with their profits, and very little goes towards the artists you listen to. Satan does not like AI, weaponry, or Trump, and likes musicians to be paid a fair rate.
Yes, he does.
Can confirm.
Before we start, I'd like to give you a trigger warning about the subject matter we're talking about. We will be talking about child abuse and ritual child abuse specifically. So please, if you are sensitive to this subject, if you have had experiences in the past and you do not wish to listen to it, we understand. Please wait for the next episode. Otherwise, welcome. And the subject matter, as I've said, is not great this time. It's not a fun episode. And we will be taking a slightly different angle from the one you might have heard from other Satanist podcasts, which is we will be saying satanic ritual abuse is actually a thing. It's not all a hoax. There have been hoaxes. We're not denying that. There have been very explicit hoaxes. However, there is actual ritual satanic abuse going on in the world.
Yeah.
And
Although Hillary Clinton is probably not involved in it.
no, that's one of the definite hoaxes. Pizzagate is a hoax. There's the Hampstead affair, which is a hoax. So there have been plenty, and unfortunately each time something like that happens, it lessens the impact of the actual stuff that's going on. There are fucked up, weird people who are throughout generations in families ritually abusing children and using satanic imagery and using Satan to scare children into doing fucked up shit.
So, Lithos, you said that this is not the position taken by some satanic podcasts. Why are we talking about it then?
I certainly have been guilty of it in the past, of saying, yeah, come on, it's all a hoax, because hoax A, hoax B, and hoax C happened, and they were well publicised. And it's just to actually say, yeah, to own up to it and say, yeah, I have read stuff recently, and this is not made up shit. This is real. This is happening. People have looked into it. People have evidence of it. People have been properly locked up for it. And it's just like saying, no, we're not going to be the grey faction and claim it's all shit.
This is important to us because we do want to live by the values that that you can read about on our website, and if we pretend that there is no abuse happening in the name of Satan in the world, then we're adopting the same position as the church, or that part of the church that likes to plug its ears and close its eyes and say nothing bad is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
100%. 100%.
I think...
Yeah, for clarification, the Grey faction... Yeah, Leraje, carry on.
Sorry.
Do you want to explain to people what the Grey faction is?
Yes. But I'll kind of like lead into it by sort of like talking about the Satanic Panic of the 80s a little bit first.
Yep, go for it.
So the Satanic Panic was kind of like this absolute bullshit idea that was mainly in the US, that kind of like things like playing Dungeons and Dragons or listening to heavy metal or all these various other things made you turn to Satan and stuff like this. And when people said that, by Satan, they meant a literal sort of like devil who existed, which is not a position we take anyway. And alongside that, there was this steady increase in accusations of ritualized sexual abuse of children by these satanic groups. And as it turned out, that was all a load of crap because, you know, there was no evidence for it. The people that were directly accused were completely bewildered and there was no evidence at all that they'd done this. And it just turned out to be a complete load of shit, basically. So, when the American atheistic satanic group, the Satanic Temple, launched, they launched a campaign called the Grey Faction, specifically to sort of like challenge this history of there being ritualized satanic abuse, and that it was a real problem. And I think it's not necessarily that I disagree with their stance that a lot of it is bullshit, because I do think a lot of it is bullshit and a lot of it was bullshit back then. But the wording on their website, the Grey Faction's website, is problematic. So let's read out a bit of one of their... They've got an FAQ on their website. And one of the questions is, what about ritual abuse? And their answer is, and I'm going to quote directly now, because society at large looks back on the Satanic Panic with regret and shame, many who continue to propagate the debunked conspiracy theory have dropped the reference to the devil from the phrase satanic ritual abuse. Ritual abuse should be understood as organised abuse perpetrated by religious groups or nebulous others or outsiders as part of a ritual. These groups are usually believed to be multi-generational and internationally ubiquitous. There are some seriously unwell individuals who have engaged in activities that could arguably be defined as ritual abuse. Such cases are rare. My issue with that is not that they're necessarily wrong, but the whole tone of it, all the language involved is downplay, downplay, downplay. And
yeah,
it kind of led to a situation whereby I think those of us who are atheistic Satanists all kind of like took the position that, okay, it's all bullshit. It's all kind of crap. And we all stopped looking at it critically. And we all stopped looking at it with a nuanced viewpoint. And when I say we, I very much include myself in that, because I did too.
Yeah, me too.
And as it turned out, so the reason we decided to do this episode is because there was a news article that we read about this subject, and which led on to a paper published by some psychologists in the UK, which very much painted...
The paper we will link to. Yeah, we will link to it in the show notes, and it's by the National Police Chiefs Council, and the author is Dr. Elly Hanson, who is a clinical psychologist and has read up about the subject thoroughly and has also worked in the field for a while. Again, we will link to her website in the show notes. I hadn't heard of her before. I've done a bit of looking up. She is the genuine article. I couldn't find any reference to her having any kind of dodgy links or even links to Christian groups or anything. She's a clinical psychologist. Anyway, carry on. Oh, sorry.
Right, no problem. So, yeah, I think we've got it kind of like, as Pike was saying, we've got to take responsibility for the fact that this clearly does happen, and we'll get onto the kind of like the content of this report in a bit, but just we sort of like have to differentiate between the fact that yes, there were a lot of bullshit conspiracy theories, And yes, things like the Satanic Panic, Pizzagate, and all those other kinds of things are all crap. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every single instance of someone claiming they've been ritually abused, whether it be satanic ritually abused or any other kind of ritual abuse, it does happen. And that's a percentage of those people are Satanists.
Yep. I mean, there was one thing she mentioned, and I was not aware of this in her report, was that the Martin preschool trial, which was a famous, one of the most famous cases in the 80s. It's the most expensive case in American judicial history, and it lasted 7 years. And it ended up being no one was actually, people were in prison for it, but they were later found not guilty. And basically, the thing about this is the police fucked up. They used dodgy counsellors and psychologists who coerced the kids into saying stuff. However, what I wasn't aware of, and what she mentions, is there was actually evidence of at least one of the teachers having committed some form of abuse, medical evidence, right, which completely went by the wayside because of the massive fuck-up and the exaggeration and the fact that parents and the psychologists talking to the kids got them to make stuff up, which was impossible, like teachers flying through the air.
Yeah.
And kids being flushed down toilets to secret passages where stuff happened. You know, that complete bullshit. And because that happened, the actual medical evidence that there was overlooked.
Yeah.
So that even in a case like that where 90% of it was bullshit, the fact that there was bullshit in it, the police fucked up. The social services fucked up. If there was any abuse, it went unpunished.
Yeah, I mean, there's in that the paper that we're going to link to, they quote a couple of studies that they reference. There was a 2020 study, and this wasn't UK particular. I think this was American. I'm not entirely sure though. One survey carried out was 165 adults reporting a history of organised abuse, 88% of whom named the involvement of an ideology or ritual. Of that group, 72% reported satanic ideology, 35% racist fascist, 30% religious or free church. So things like Christianity, Jehovah's Witnesses, Freemasons, those kind of thing. But, you know, this is clearly not an isolated thing. It's
No.
and it's not something I think we can just ignore.
No. It's basically, when the figure quoted is high, but I should state here that this is not 70-odd% of child abuse cases. This is specifically ritual organised abuse. Yeah. So organised as in several people are organising it and performing it regularly, and there is some form of ritual involved. And when you think about it for a minute, it stands to reason if these people are fucked up people who like abusing children and scaring them and using rituals to do it, they will use what is viewed as a traditional setting for that kind of ritual abuse, which is kind of, Satanists, that's what Satanists do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's also a great way to scare the kids into, you go, oh, yes, the devil's going to get you. You're going to have to do this. It's just kind of like going, oh, it hardly happens, or it doesn't happen a lot. But when it does happen, that most of the time when this happens, satanic imagery is used, is a fact we have to live with. We don't know. Sorry, that's the wrong word. Not live with. We have to acknowledge. We shouldn't have to live with it.
Yeah.
No one should have to live with that kind of knowledge. And we will not. I certainly won't mention any of the. There are grisly details in this report. Yeah. Be warned if you read it. Absolutely gruesome details.
It's a harrowing read.
And and it is. These are. I mean, these people disgust me beyond belief. And it's, in a lot of cases, it's generational. It started out a couple of generations ago. Granddad taught parents and parents taught kids, and then the kids go on to become abusers themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's so indoctrinated into them. The whole, that's what kids are for. It's just unbelievable. And everything should be done to stop this. And the point the author was making is, unfortunately, because of the satanic panics in the past, social services, police, judicial services tend to kind of like try and dismiss the satanic angle, because they go, we don't want any of that satanic hokum. We don't want to get caught out with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. You have to admit.
Yeah, and I think that's why the sort of like the involvement of the Grey faction kind of like bothered me so much. If you go on, they've got a single page on TST's own website, and they've got a separate website as well. And in neither of those two places do they ever say, yes, it's 99.999% recurring bullshit, but there is a grain of truth at it as well. The whole language of it is downplayed. It's kind of like minimised. It's brushed to one side. It's referred to as kind of like in terms that you would use to sort of like indicate hoax, and you know, it just didn't sit right with me at all that kind of framed a Satanist perspective, including my own, about whether this stuff was true or not. I mean, the research that you talked about earlier, what was her name? Elly Hanson.
Yeah.
She's quoted, survivors report that delayed disclosure is common, influenced by trauma-related memory fragmentation, fear of spiritual retaliation. So these poor kids believe that the devil is out to get them. Cultural stigma, and critically, experiences of not being believed. Many describe this as institutionalized disbelief. So, you know, so these poor kids who've not only suffered through this appalling abuse are also not believed. You know, and I think that if this was any other kind of abuse, that we would all immediately take the stance of believing the victims. But in this one area, we probably don't or haven't historically.
Yeah.
You mentioned Pike. You read some articles. We've been talking a lot.
Sorry.
It was very good to hear a bit more about the report, because I hadn't actually read it. I think we will always have to reckon with this problem to some degree, purely because, you know, if you call yourself a Buddhist, you have to know a little bit about Buddhism. Satanism can become a bit of a catch-all bucket for anyone who perceives themselves as doing something bad, right? So, whereas for us it's quote-unquote bad, but some of the people take that very literally as in commit crimes, do damage, cause harm. So we probably always will hear about horrible deeds committed in the name of Satan. And when I researched this, which a part of me part of me wishes I hadn't, because it was a gruesome thing.
You're not alone in that.
Yes. It seems like it got, I don't know if it accelerated it more, or it made it more public and brought it to our attention. But, you know, the age of social media and the internet seems to have really speeded this up, and also involved a lot of younger abusers. A lot of these, for example, one group I was reading about called 764, which is similar to Order of Nine Angles. It was started by a 15-year-old. And these are the cases that end up in courts are overwhelmingly these teenage boys who say they hate women, who have been who soaked up all this misogynist far-right ideology.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying. Because that's children abusing children.
Oh, the children. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case listeners weren't aware, you probably should be, of Order of Nine Angles, or O9A, as they're sometimes known. They claim to be satanic. However, they are a white supremacist fascist organisation that advocates murder, amongst other things, in the name of Satan. So they're out there. Why wouldn't there be people abusing kids, likewise in the name of Satan?
Yeah.
It's, as I said earlier, it's kind of like the kind of obvious go-to if you want to do really appalling things, if you kind of believe the old sort of horror film Dennis Wheatley, Catholic Church narrative of... Sorry, I'm blaming the Catholic Church again. I'm not blaming them for the Satanic Ritual Abuse this time. I'm just saying, if you believe that narrative of Satan and the devil, then it's a go-to figure. And you kind of like go as people who don't believe any of that shit. We go, no, we want to do decent things in the name of Satan. We've got to own the fact that people do appalling things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all internally discussed this, and I think we might have even discussed it on a podcast previously. This kind of like fragmentation within the world of Satanism. So there's kind of like Satanism is this big thing, and then within that you've got this division of theistic Satanism and non-theistic Satanism, which is the branch that we're on. And the theistic Satanists, the one who actually believe in the devil, and it's kind of like, are you Satanists or are you just like reverse Christians? It's a bit bizarre, because you're kind of like, by saying you believe in the devil, you must therefore automatically be saying you believe in God as well.
I don't think it necessarily follows.
No, I mean, I don't know how you can have one without the other.
Well, you could believe that God is dead.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But it's still, you would still need to have believed that it
or
existed.
Dormant like Cthulhu.
Yeah, but this kind of like fragmentation is it carries on down and down and down. So we're, even within non-theistic, there's like the Levians, and then there's the rest of us. So when we say we've got to own the fact that Satanists there is an issue of abuse within Satanism, we're not necessarily referring to our branch of Satanism or our little group, the organisation we belong to.
We definitely are not referring to our group.
No, but we are.
We're not referring to be honest, we're not referring to any Satanists we actually know, and we know loads of them.
No.
They all find this absolutely abhorrent.
Yeah, no, I take your points, but we've also got to own the fact that these people doing it are Satanists.
Yes.
And therefore we are we all are still part of that overall umbrella. Even though we as an organisation, we as individuals, and beyond that, the people that we're allies and friends with in other organisations are not doing this. It's people who call themselves Satanists are doing it. So we've got to, like Pike said earlier, this kind of like, it would be the same if one branch of Christianity said, "Oh yeah, Christians don't do that," and then you could say, well, Catholics are pretty well known for it. So it's, even though there's competing branches of Satanism, just like there's competing branches of Christianity, they're all still Christians. We're all still Satanists.
Yeah, that's right. It's very tempting.
Yeah.
It almost rolls off the tongue to say, well, these people call themselves Satanists, but they're not real Satanists.
Yeah.
But then again, that we're not edgelords or gatekeepers.
That's right.
If you call yourself that, then who am I to say you're not that?
Yeah.
You just believe in a different form of Satanism.
It's understandable.
Well, this is it. Sorry, Pike. Go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say that it's understandable that you'd want to distance yourself from something so horrible. It's a natural impulse.
Yeah, Oh, and unless I'm giving that impression, I just want to make it absolutely clear I'm not accusing all theistic Satanists of being abusers either.
Oh, yeah.
Even within that kind of like sphere, there's further fragmentation as well. And we are good friends with a couple of theistic satanic organisations. So, they just believe in different things than we do. That's fine. But yeah, I do feel that we have to kind of like, if we say we're Satanists, then we have to take the rough with the smooth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just we didn't want this to be another sort of podcast. And we have done on a different podcast we've done in the past, we have done at least one episode on sort of satanic ritual abuse hoaxes. And there are plenty of them about. We didn't want to be another episode like that. We wanted to be an episode that said, no, look, it does actually happen and it needs to be taken seriously. That's basically the bottom line. And in the end, you look at any religion, there are people who will strap Semtex to themselves and blow up a load of kids at a concert in the name of Islam. There are people, there's Islamic State, there was Xandus Breivik on the Catholic side, There are people who do terrible things in the name of Christ, who commit murder and atrocities. Yeah. And, we've got to say, yeah, we're not as pure as, just because we believe in these things doesn't mean that other people who use Satan as a figurehead of some sort are really great people by definition.
I think a lot of people who do this stuff, who engage in terrorism certainly, but also abuse, I think they're drawn, not always, but in a lot of these stories, they're extremists to start with. And the spiritual side is more something that gives a little bit of romance to what they're doing. It makes it more fun for them, rather than driving it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, or providing an excuse for the behaviour, because you can find it excuses the behaviour. It sort of legitimises it in some way, because otherwise you just have to kind of look at yourself and go, I'm an appalling person.
Yeah, I think if you can say, I'm doing it in the name of God, or I'm doing this in the name of Satan, or I'm doing this, for some ideological belief, then it kind of like, in their own minds, it lends them, I don't know, an air of there being a reason for it, whereas in reality, there's no reason. They are just terrible people.
Yeah. I mean, I would, if you want to look into this further, dear listener, I would recommend reading the report we're going to link to. It does provide a lot of detail and some very interesting readings and sort of conclusions that suggest how we do things better in future. And a lot of the reasons, it's not just the hoaxes that have caused these things to be ignored. It's also, in some cases, they've come to be looked at as hoaxes because the forces of law and order have fucked up massively.
Yeah, I think that was part of what this report was trying to get these forces of law and order to do, was to kind of like say to them, look, this is an actual issue and here's the evidence for it. They've now designated a particular term for it, which is witchcraft, spirit possession and spiritual abuse. WSPRA for short, which is not the greatest acronym, but there you go. I think the other thing we should do as well is put in the show notes links to organisations that can help people who might be struggling with these issues.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There's an organisation that worked very closely with Dr. Hanson called NAPAC, which is the National Association for People Abused in Childhood. And they
are also linked on we will provide a link to Dr. Hanson's website. They are also mentioned in there, so the organisations she's worked with.
I think that was one of the troubling, one of the most worrying aspects for me was Gabrielle Shaw, who's the chief exec of NAPAC, said there'd been a sustained rise in reports of this kind of abuse over the last 18 months. And the report was published last year, by the way. And that over a 9-year period, they'd receive about 3.5% of the calls they get were about this form of abuse. So, 3.5% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's people, that's actual people. It's easy to say 3.5% and it just be tossed off as another figure. But, each one of those percentage points represents a person who's gone through hell, literally.
And it might not sound like a lot, but the thing to realise here is most people are not aware of how horrendously prevalent child abuse is and how much it is overlooked and how much it is kept secret by families. And I'm talking about all kinds of and most cases of child abuse happen within the family or within friends of the family and are dealt with terribly because the police, social services, they don't have a handle on this. They're not dealing with it properly. I know of one case personally of someone who got off because although it was clear they had done it, the way the police, and I can't go into details because, this is a real person I know, the police dealt with it so disgustingly badly that the victim did not want to go through with what was needed to prove it. And then it's like the justice system goes, well, there's no evidence. And had the police dealt with it properly, that man would be behind bars where he fucking belongs. And it didn't happen. And this happens all the fucking time. And this is part of the reason why people don't want to step forward and admit to it. But I can guarantee every single listener here, at least one person who has suffered child abuse. And if you think you don't, you're lying to yourself. This is how prevalent it is. It is real and it's happening all over the fucking shop. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I mean, they say that in the report, that literally use that phrase, the tip of the iceberg. They believe that it's significantly underreported, that percentage point is very much lower than it is in reality. It's probably much higher.
What's interesting to me that you said there's been a recent jump, right, in the numbers. I wonder, because you can see a correlation there with also the rise of the far right. And I don't know if it's just the cases that make the newspaper headlines, but a lot of these groups seem to have far right links.
I think that's true. I mean, what you were saying earlier about 09A and groups like that who are also pretty, well, they are far right. There does seem to be a significant tie between fascism and that particular form of, Satanism as they practice it. So, yeah, but you could also tie it into things like the rise of the manosphere, the misogyny we were talking about earlier. None of these things happen in a vacuum and they all feed off each other. Yeah, so, God, this is a fucking depressing subject, isn't it?
Yeah. It needs to be admitted to. Yes. I think the thing that was mentioned in the Guardian article as well is that one of the reasons why it's come up is since the advent of AI, people have been going to AI to seek help.
Oh, God.
Because they haven't had help else. So victims or survivors of child abuse have gone to AI to try and find help because they haven't been able to find help elsewhere.
I mean, that's a depressing thing, even in its own right.
Yeah.
The thought of people being so desperate that they're turned into a fucking lie machine.
The link between the far right and abuses is not new, but I think what is different. So a lot of these cases involve teenagers, and in a few of them it was mentioned that they go to these chat rooms just looking for just being a bit edgelordy, like teenagers often are, looking for all kinds of extreme content, I don't know, when I was a teenager, all my classmates would go on rotten.com, and, that was just looking for stuff like that. And then they get radicalized into the sort of broader, they're given a structure. The full package, the misogyny, the racism, the sort of accelerationist views, the spiritual element in some cases. I believe Order of Nine Angles are actually they're quite spiritual.
Well, they are theistic Satanists, according to them.
Yeah, they think they're gonna open a portal of evil or something like that through their activities.
Yeah.
So
Dickheads.
So it's very organized, right? Because it's not these teenagers start things, but they are not where the money comes from for these projects, where the ambition and the breadth comes from. And I think that is new.
It wouldn't surprise me at all to find out. I mean, I don't know that I'm not claiming that it definitely is. What I'm saying is it wouldn't surprise me at all to find out there are direct ties between some of the more famous far-right organisations and organisations like O9A.
Oh, there are. It's known.
Is it? Oh, right.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
like
right.
fascist, some banned fascist organisations. And some of them have reinvented themselves under new names and then got banned again once it came out.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so there's definitely a pipeline.
But I think, it's funny what you were saying about rotten.com. I mean, that's one of the more well-known, although now dead, shock sites.
We should probably, say what it was for any listeners.
I'll let you describe that.
It was a website that featured, I believe, fake or mostly fake pictures of people mauled in car accidents or people who died in various dramatic ways. And teenagers would access it to sort of laugh at, to see how much they could withstand. Another thing from that time was a lot of, I didn't, but a lot of my friends also watched do you remember the beheading video of an American soldier who got beheaded by
ISIS.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Teenagers are often drawn to that kind of thing, but...
Well, I think they are, and I think that's where it always struck me that on sites like rotten.com, there was always two types of people. There was that type of people, the kind of like young, teenagery edgelord, and then there was the slightly older, sort of like 25, 26-ish men who were kind of like constantly pushing the boundary just a little bit further and a little bit further. And it became this kind of like arms race of extremity to sort of like see who could be the most shocking, who could post the most extreme content. And I think that's possibly, you can see how it happens. These conversations go on, and then somebody receives a DM saying, "Hey, if you want to see the really good stuff, come to this Telegram group or come to this, whatever." And all of a sudden, this young person finds themselves in a different group where some really bad stuff is going on.
Yeah, and some of them require them to carry out tasks to prove themselves to be admitted. So then there is that kind of there is the game element to it as well. Can you do this challenge? Can you bring this new material? Can you impress these older men? Grim.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, again, when I was younger, one of the panics was about snuff movies.
Oh, yeah.
And that, there were movies like Cannibal Holocaust that were actually, that it's all fake, but a lot of the gory horror movies that came out that were really low budget, kind of that they were snuff movies.
Video nasties.
Yeah, video nasties, and that there were snuff movies where people were actually being tortured and killed. And it's like, and then as a reaction to that, there was there's no such thing as snuff movies. Yeah. And it's like, well, there were such things as snuff movies, but they weren't available at video stores. No. And a lot of the things that were called snuff movies were just cheap, fucking tacky horror movies. Yeah. whereas the real snuff movies were being made behind closed doors, and doubtlessly there were such
It raises
things.
an interesting philosophical question, right? That is there something in all of us that is drawn to that dark side, and how much of it is, is all of it unhealthy? Is it unhealthy just from a certain point where it starts harming other people?
I think that's the point. I think there is something dark in everybody. There is a kind of like, everyone I think has a kind of like morbid curiosity about subjects like death and things like that. But it begins to sort of like become unhealthy when it starts to affect other people, or when it starts to affect your own ability to sort of like keep a lid on things and sort of like manage your own emotional responses to these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think it is, having a dark side is not a bad thing, but being unable to sort of like know where the line is a bad thing.
And you can't always expect these teenagers or young kids to know where that line lies, but the adults
part of the job
who are running it, they should.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's almost the job description of a teenager to constantly push the boundaries and push the lines, because they're young. They're trying to figure out what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. They're testing, they're experimenting, and that's a healthy thing. But it's the job of the adults in the room, or who are part of the discussion, to sort of like say, you need to back off a little bit now, and sort of like discuss what it is they're doing. It's not to kind of like encourage constantly more extreme content until you kind of like, it's normalized in your own mind.
Yeah.
Which actually leads into another question. There were, even say when we were younger in school, you would have an occasional kid who would do something horrible. I don't know, kill a kitten or something. But most kids would seek out, they would seek out this titillating content. And there would be a limit, because there was a limit to what you could access without actively doing something yourself, without crossing that line, without hurting somebody. But now there is no limit. And I'm not really an advocate for a limited internet, because then there's a question of who controls it and for what reason. But, now we have everything.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. And it does bother me for the same reasons as you just said. But I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. Because I'm not an advocate for a limited internet either. But,
No, because once you start putting limits on it,
who controls it?
Your government decides for you. And they are going to, when the government turns the way it's done in America, then it's going to be, you're just going to see state propaganda.
Even things like over here, like the Child Safety Act, or whatever the fuck it's called, which is deeply, deeply flawed piece of legislation. But it's... But anyway, that's
the subject of another episode, which you can find in our archives.
That's a frequent rant that I have. I think it was important for us to do this episode, though, and sort of like acknowledge the fact that we were wrong to sort of like think, those of us who did, and I'm not suggesting every single non-theistic Satanist thinks that there was never a problem, but those of us who did, maybe with relief, turned to the idea that there was no ritualized sexual abuse happening within satanic circles.
I don't think we kind of ever thought it never happened, but I think I've certainly been blissfully unaware or unable to kind of look into it and to realise how prevalent it is amongst ritual abuse.
Yeah.
Just thinking, that's hardly going to happen. And it, like, when it comes to ritual abuse, it doesn't hardly happen.
Yeah. I will give some credit to TST. I know we dunked on them a little bit. If it wasn't for some of the stuff they're doing in terms of just, organizing conventions and spreading the word and doing publicity stunts and all that stuff, the only news items about Satanism would be these sort of people who see Satanism as just a sort of suitable aesthetic for their criminal activity. There's nothing else out there.
It is
in the news.
We have sort of in the past gone through, and again, this was on a separate podcast in the past where we talked about things like the Church of Satan and gone, although we don't agree with them on virtually on most things, without them, it would be arguable that sort of modern rational Satanism would not be at the stage it is now.
We do have to acknowledge our roots, yes. I personally struggle with the idea of kind of like giving credit to TST for much of anything, but that's my issue to deal with.
Every single Satanist that I certainly know, and I know quite a few, doesn't indulge in these kind of activities and will never indulge in these kind of activities, and the vast majority won't. It's just like, owning the fact that some fucked up people do.
Yeah.
Hey ho.
Can we end on a positive note?
God, please.
Do it.
Yeah, because this was heavy going, and
Yeah. Is there a positive note?
What are you gonna pull out of the bag?
there was the news about that report that that more people are going to church in Britain. That was based on a survey. That was bullshit, which was quite funny.
Very funny.
Yes, the Bible Society had to retract their report when they got cornered by the humanists who actually looked into it. Well done, humanists.
I mean...
And it was based on a YouGov survey. Now, YouGov is a fairly respected polling organisation, but it turns out the survey was an online poll. It wasn't scientific. No. And, of course, with an online poll, you can go and vote multiple times. You can kind of, like, use bots to vote.
Yeah. You can say anything as well. I mean, no one's there to check. You can say you are whoever you want to be. Yeah.
And at the very least, you can... it's self-selective, right? Even if you're not a bot, even if you did not get sent there by a church, you chose to vote in that poll.
And it was they were saying that church attendance was rising dramatically amongst young people in particular. And then it turned out that the Humanist Society said, well, hang on a minute. How come that goes against every other survey that's been done on the subject? And then it turns out, YouGov had to withdraw their survey, I believe, because they went, this is not, the results aren't accurate.
I mean, to give them their due, the Bible Society did make a public statement acknowledging it and retracting it, which is more than a lot of organisations would do.
They did, but apparently they fought the humanists.
I can imagine. Yeah.
This is...
But it was quite funny, that whole thing.
Yeah. So you heard it here. Christianity is still declining.
It is.
It is. And when people say this is a Judeo-Christian country, it's like, did you look at the last census that said now we're largely secular?
Yeah. We are. We are a secular country by majority.
And if any religion is on the rise, any Abrahamic religion is on the rise in this country, it's Islam. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, but even that is not exactly thriving, is it? I mean, I think the last census put the overall figure for Muslims at 7% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's a tiny minority, but I was just kind of like going, it'll scare a few people on the far right. You know,
I don't think Tommy Robinson listens to our podcast. So.
I hope not. If Christianity is declining because it's a hard sell to, for the modern person, then Islam is definitely a hard sell.
Yeah.
There's a lot more strings attached to that one.
Yeah, a lot more rules. Yeah.
But if you are the kind of person who loves rules, feel free.
If you are the kind of person who does not love rules, we are available to chat.
Yes.
That's right. Get in touch.
Yeah, get in touch. Yeah, that sounded like I was fucking evangelising then. Strike that from the record.
Yes, we don't.
What?
Don't do
If you're
There's not going to
interested,
be
you can get in
a
touch.
free toll
but-
number?
No, yeah.
We're not going to go leafleting.
Christ, no, we are not. Can't be asked apart from anything else. Right, we done.
What, ringing the doorbell and going, hello, can I interest you in say?
Have you heard the good news of Satan?
The bad news of Satan.
The last time someone came around and rang the doorbell, and I think they started with something like, and it was on Halloween. That's the irony. It's fucking Halloween. What are you doing? I mean,
That's probably why.
And they started with, do you think about things that are going wrong in the world and how the world's not going well, something like that? And I said, yeah, I do. And they go, do you think about what causes it and how to make it better? And I said, yeah, I think the cause is mainly far right Christian extremism. And that was kind of the end of the conversation.
Goodbye. Bang.
I wish them good luck. I did say, I'm not interested. I don't want to hear about the kingdom of God, but I wish you well in your quest.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
The problem is your
and
God
that was
and the
it.
billionaires. If we can get rid of those, we'll be fine.
If they come round, be nice to them.
Yeah.
You can tell them that you don't want any of their shit. You don't have to be offensive. Well, have a nice day. Good luck. Yeah. But don't bother with me. No. I'm going to hell.
Happily going to hell.
I'm happily going to hell, and I will be at the right end of the pitchfork.
I think your and his definitions of offensive might have been different.
Yeah, true. I suppose saying I don't want to hear anything about the kingdom of God is quite offensive too.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun episode, but hey,
but necessary. I think
we'll try and make it a bit lighter next time. We'll think of a theme that's not quite as grim and horrendous, and there is no grimmer theme than child abuse.
Yeah.
No. So we won't be talking about Trump next time, or don't know why his name popped into mind in relation to child abuse.
No, I mean Peter Mandelson or anyone like that. They have nothing to do with child
random
abuse at all.
names that pop into your head. Yeah.
I will say goodbye and thank you for listening, and I hope to have you listening to us again next time. With me, I've had Pike.
Hail Satan.
I've had Leraje.
Hail Satan, but not on Spotify, please.
No, not on Spotify. And I've been Lithos. Hail Satan. Please be warned, you might not want to continue listening to it. If, however, you want to continue listening,
Continue listening.
Continue listening. Right. I'll do the trigger warning again. That was shit.
Or nebulous others or outsiders as part of a ritual. Sorry.
He's got a delivery edit point. He did say at the start, I'm sorry, I was expecting a delivery a few hours ago, but
Good time to cough.
yeah. Yeah.
It sounded like the kind of bell you get when you get an announcement. Will the passengers
Yeah,
for the flight
yeah, it did.
6092 and go to the gate number 14?
Fucking knew that would turn up the minute I started talking.
That's all right. So,
Right.
yes.
Let me get my breath back. I just dashed down the stairs.
Miss, on that note,
You better fuck it.
thank you for listening if you made it this far. We really appreciate it, and I will say, we'll say our last goodbye. Not our last goodbyes. What am I fucking talking about? We're not going to die.
This
I hope
is so
not, at least.
miserable. We decided not to continue.
Our last goodbye.
Yes. Yes. Take this. I'm fucking gonna have to cut this bit out. I'm babbling like a fuckwit. Yes.